I'm going to just read it because most likely I'm going to thank God you can comment later because I'm not fixing to wait for everybody. But anyways, so the book is called Plato's Complete Work, but this specific writing is called the Apologia. Now, the backdrop behind this is Socrates is about to be put to death because he has an opinion on piety. And so it was Greek mythology that we're talking about. That's why it's gods plural at this time, actually, which is questioning what is piety. Not from a prideful standpoint in the sense of not believing, but just inquiring clarity. Which is funny because if that was me, I'd have been dead. Been dead! I'm telling you, we take too much for granted. But anyway, okay, so this is just a small snippet only because, man, just when I don't think I'll have to even say anything once I read it. But okay, so here we go. One of you might, and he's pleading his case, one of you might perhaps interpret me and say, but Socrates, what is your occupation? For where have these slanders come? For surely if you did not busy yourself with something out of the common, all these rumors and talk would not have arisen unless you did something other than most people. Like I said, I'd have been dead. That tickles me. Anyways, tell us what it is that we may not speak inadvisedly about you. Anyone who says that seems to be right, and I will try to show you what has caused this reputation and slander. Listen then, perhaps some of you will think I am jesting, but be sure that all that I shall say is true. What has caused my reputation is none other than a certain kind of wisdom. What kind of wisdom? Human wisdom? Perhaps. It may be that I really possess this, while those whom I mentioned just now are wise with a wisdom more than human. Else I cannot explain it, for I certainly do not possess it, and whoever says I do is lying and speaks to slander me. Do not create a disturbance, gentlemen, even if you think I am boasting, for the story I shall tell does not originate with me, but I will refer you to a trustworthy source. Man, okay, now I promise you, I don't think it's hard to follow, but to the degree of which he's actually arguing, yes, to a degree it's hard to follow, but just hang in there, okay? So, I shall call upon the God at Delphi as witness to the existence and nature of my wisdom, if it be such. You know, now see, here we go. See, this is why I love my new place in Christianity because this is the real here, okay? This is the real. Some people say, how can you be so smart? And then some of the little simple things you don't know or you can't. That's the reality of Jesus Christ. You can't be perfect. His grace is sufficient, and that's why we need him, and that's why we need each other. But yeah, anyways, I said all that to say this. I'm going to spell this in case you're like a theologian and would like to study it, but I'm not going to even try to enunciate it. It is a Greek word spelled Chaerepphon. That's obviously a person's name because he's dead, okay? So that person is dead, but his brother will testify to you about this. Consider that I tell you this, because I would inform you about the origin of the slander. When I heard of this reply, I asked myself, whatever does the God-man mean? What is his riddle? I am very conscious that I am not wise at all. What then does he mean by saying that I am the wisest? For surely he does not lie. It is not legitimate for him to do so. For a long time I was at a loss as to his meaning. Then I very reluctantly turned to some such investigation as this. I went to one of those reputed wise, thinking that this is when it gets good to be. I went to one of those reputed wise, thinking that if any, I could refute the oracle and say to it, this man is wiser than I. But you said I was. Then when I examined this man, there is no need for me to tell you his name. He was one of our public men. My experience was something like this. I thought that he appeared wise to many people, especially to himself, but he was not. I then tried to show him that he thought himself wise, but that he was not. As a result, he came to dislike me, and so did many of his bystanders. So I withdrew and thought to myself, I am wiser than this man. It is likely that neither of us... Come on, somebody, look. This is the statement that's cold. I am wiser than this man. It is likely that neither of us knows anything worthwhile, but he thinks he knows something when he does not. Whereas when I do not know, neither do I think I know. So I am likely to be wiser than he to this small extent, that I do not think I know what I do not know. Oh, I'm sorry. That is so good to me. I feel like that's just like Paul when he says that I don't feel that I have apprehended. I feel like it's the same thing, but okay. After that, I proceeded systematically. I realized to my sorrow and alarm that I was getting unpopular, but I thought that I must attach the greatest importance to the God's oracle. So I must go to all those who had any reputation for knowledge to examine its meaning. And by the dog men of Athens, for I must tell you the truth, I experienced something like this. In my investigation in the service of the God, I found that those who had the highest reputation were nearly the most deficient, while those who were thought to be inferior were more knowledgeable. I must give you an account of my journeyings as if they were laborers I had undertaken to prove the oracle irrefutable. After the politicians, I went to the poets. Oh, I really love this part. The writers of the tragedies and diaphragms, and the others, intending in their case to catch myself being more important than they. So I took up those poems with which they seemed to have taken most trouble and asked them what they meant, in order that I might at the same time learn something from them. I am ashamed to tell you the truth, gentlemen, but I must. Almost all the bystanders might have explained the poems better than their authors could. I soon realized that poets do not compose their poems with knowledge, but by some inborn talent and by inspiration, like seers and prophets, who also say many fine things without any understanding of what they say. The poets seem to me to have a similar experience. At the same time, I saw that because of their poetry, they thought themselves very wise men in other respects, which they were not. So there again, I withdrew, thinking that I had the same advantage over them as I had over the politicians. Again, the whole point of him even saying anything is the fact that he's about to die for having an opinion. He's put on trial because somebody accuses him of slandering their gods, which was of course the Greek mythology, which I haven't gotten into a lot because I serve one almighty true and living God. But the people perish for the lack of knowledge, and there's nothing wrong with knowing. It's just a matter of compartmentalizing and putting everything into its proper perspective and keeping God at the forefront and the center of all things, because if you do that, everything was made through him and for him. So we keep giving the devil so much power, but whatever. Leave your questions, your comments. Somebody criticize. Leave somebody. Y'all, anybody got no opinion or something? Positive, negative, dang, some active. I'm just saying.